Hello and welcome to a ramble. Today we are looking at IEB's November 2022 paper 1 question 2C. And honestly, as I was preparing this little slide and I briefly looked at the questions, I'm not really sure why I included them. But anyway, maybe something moved me. I don't know. I don't know. Anyway, but we're here, we are committing, we're going to do the question. Let's look at the first bit. If W is equal to the square root of 7 minus x, then for what values of x is W non-real? Okay, so it's non-real if we are square rooting a negative number. So in other words, if this 7 minus x expression is smaller than 0, then we would be square rooting a negative number. So then we'd end up with a non-real number. So if we then rearrange this inequality, essentially then if x is bigger than 7, then W will be non-real. And that kind of makes sense. If x is 8, for example, we're going to end up with 7 minus 8, which is negative 1. Square root of negative 1 is non-real. If x is 100, then 7 minus 100 is also then a negative number. The square root of that will be non-real. So that's the first answer. The second one, solve for x if W plus 2 is equal to x plus 1. So that's just a matter of rearranging the equation so that x is the subject. So I'm going to minus 1 on both sides. So x will then be W plus 2 minus 1, which is just plus 1. And that is that, unless there's a trick that I'm missing. Let's see. So first answer, x greater than 7, yes. And then, oh, did I copy the wrong thing? Oh, that's so awkward. What have I done? Okay, let me just quickly see what the question. My word. Yeah, I think I might just end up. No, it's not me. It's the memo. Oh, apologies. Oh, okay, I'm being silly. Sorry, my bad. Okay, so this is in fact a continuation. They are not independent questions. Okay, the mark allocation. If I had the mark allocation, it would have hinted to me that, baby girl, you need to do a bit more work than what you just did. So, anyway. Right. So that makes sense why I was drawn to the question, possibly. So, right, we are solving for x if W plus 2 is equal to x plus 1. So, because we want to solve for x, that means I want to then replace the W with an expression in terms of x. So, instead of making x the subject of the formula, I will isolate the W. So I'm going to minus 2 on both sides. So that's going to be W is equal to x plus 1 minus 2, which is x minus 1. So I'm going to replace the W with that. Okay, so that is then x minus 1 is equal to the square root of 7 minus x. Okay, I don't know why I made that square root so enthusiastic. Okay, and then right, we're going to square both sides to get rid of the square root. So that's going to be x squared minus 1x minus 1x is minus 2x minus 1 times minus 1, and then 7 minus x. Then this is a quadratic equation, so we're going to get all our terms onto one side, leave the other side as a 0. So that simplifies to x squared minus 1x minus 6. Okay, and then we can factorize that. So that's going to be x minus 3 times x plus 2. Okay, and so x could be 3 or x could be negative 2. However, we do need to test against the original equation. So before we did the squaring, because one of these solutions might assume that we are talking about the negative square root of 7 minus x, which is not the case, right? We are strictly speaking about the positive square root of 7 minus x. Yeah, okay. Anyway, sorry, I was just quickly finding my train of thought. Sometimes I speak faster than I think, which is just a very scary reality to live with, honestly. Okay, so we're going to test x is equal to 3. So in that case, the left-hand side is 3 minus 1, which is 2. And the right-hand side is the square root of 7 minus 3, which is the square root of 4, which is 2. So because the left-hand side is equal to the right-hand side, therefore x is equal to 3 is a solution. I don't have to say valid. Okay, and then the next one we're going to test is the negative 2. Okay, so in this case, the left-hand side is x minus 1, so minus 2 minus 1, which is minus 3, and we can already see that that's not going to work because the square root of this is going to be a positive number, right? That's just the definition of a square root. So we can already see that we have flopping here. 7 minus 2, which is the square root of 7 plus 2, which is the square root of 9, which is positive 3. So here the left hand side is not equal to the right hand side. Therefore, x is equal to minus 2 is not a solution. Okay, so then I'm not going to go to a new page to say this. I'll just highlight here that this is our only solution. X is equal to 3. Okay, so the moral of this story is, pay attention to mark allocations. Mark allocations are important. And also, if it's a two-part question, then it probably means that the questions have something to do with each other. But yeah, I definitely think if the mark allocation was present on my little slide, that would have been the bigger hint for me to connect the two questions. I also put them in the same folder when I was preparing this slide, so I don't know why I then treated them anyway. Right, cool. Check you another time for another ramble. Okay, and then of course I forgot to actually check the solutions, and well, the solution for my updated workings. And yes, the correct answer is x is equal to 3. But just to also explain a bit more clearly why or how we can quickly disqualify this solution actually. So if we come back here, right, and we just erase these little brackets for 2 seconds, okay, so this right hand side, square root of whatever, is a positive number by definition of the square root. When you say square root of 9, the only answer is 3. It's not 3 or negative 3. It only becomes the square root. Well, so if we want to talk about negative 3 as a square root of 9, we have to specifically say the negative square root of 9. But if we just say the square root, the definition of the square root operation is just the positive square root, right? So that means that this left hand side, this expression has to be greater than 0 because, well, greater than or equal to 0, I guess, right? Because just by the definition of this square root, we know that the RHS is greater than So we can say that actually RHS is greater than or equal to 0, which implies that the same for the left hand side, right? So just quickly I'm going to bring back the little, right? So by knowing that, immediately over here, when our left hand side turned out to be a negative number, we knew straight away that this can't be a solution to this equation, because our left hand side definitely has to be greater than 0. So I think maybe that's a clearer explanation for why we end up with two solutions, one of which sometimes doesn't actually solve the original solution. But yeah, on a murkier level, on a more abstract level, it's because x squared equals to 9 has two solutions, right? But square root of 9 only has one solution. And that's a very important distinction. Okay, yeah, I'm also beginning to confuse myself, so this is a good point for me to just terminate this video.